Good morning, guys. Yeah, excitement here in Mesa, Arizona as Justin Turner getting ready to join the Chicago Cubs. Commissioner in town yesterday talking to everybody. White Sox have their little news, not much, but where do you want to begin today?
Let's start with Turner. What do you see his role as, and what do you see his contribution being? Is he a better kind of intangible guy than actual physical player at this point?
Yeah, that's a terrific question because we don't know that. I think the intangibles we've talked about at length, even yesterday before he signed. The fact that he brings the idea of a playoff experienced guy, a guy that never gets rattled, can come up late in the game and win it with a pinch hit. Maybe go in and DH against tough left-handers, 25, 30 times during the year. Be there for that big pinch hit at the end of a ball game where Craig Counsell last year had to use Patrick Wisdom. He now has the gravitas and the player that's been there and done it in Justin Turner. So for $6 million, it's a lot of money for a backup player, but it shows that the Cubs are serious about having the extra men they need at the end of a ball game.
So, Bruce, Rob Manfred addressed the possibility of Wrigley Field hosting an All-Star Game in 2027. I know this has been something you have been pushing for a very long time. What did Rob Manfred say that made you feel better or worse about the situation, and how, if it was at all different from what we heard from Crane Kenny back at the Cubs convention?
Well, I think the fact that Rob Manfred addressed it and said the Cubs are doing what they need to do. So I guess people will say, well, what do they need to do? Number one, foremost, is security around the ballpark, okay? The security of having barriers. The Cubs have practiced that with part-time barriers throughout the last two seasons around the ballpark when the game begins. Number two, maybe it's 1A, and that is the mayor being on board for a big event in Chicago. Is this something that he wants, that they want, that they'll work together? I think number three is the logistics of rerouting Clark Street and Addison Street buses, two mainstream lines for Chicago streets. And where do these buses go when they're being rerouted during the All-Star week? It's not just the All-Star game, it's Home Run Derby. It's an entire week of festivities. So how does that work for Chicago and the working people of the city? Those are the things that they're trying to tighten up right now before they get the game.
How close to that how close to fruition would that be? If they can get that done, is it a lock that they'll get the game? I mean, are the Cubs, is MLB looking at this and saying, yeah, All-Star Game in Chicago makes sense?
Yeah, they want them there, and they want them there in 2027. That's the next opening for Major League Baseball. And I think, if they can get some things tied up, I think Major League Baseball will announce that the Cubs are getting that game in 2027. I know the Cubs are keeping their fingers crossed. They want it, obviously. They haven't had it here in 37 years. There's 7 or 8 teams that have had 2 All-Star games already in their cities since the Cubs have had one in 1990. Cubs have only had 3 in history, going back to 47, 62, and 90. So it's way above time, 36 years.
It does seem odd, though, that the Cubs did have a World Series in 2016, and they don't have the security capability to host an All-Star game. I know that may be getting too far in the weeds on this, but it just seems to be a consistent obstacle that I wonder, had they already cleared. The World Series went off without a hitch, Bruce. That's got to be convincing to someone.
Yeah, it is. And you know what? There's probably an All-Star game missing up until 1988 when they first got lights. Because when they started to make this game under the lights back in the late 60s, early 70s, that changed everything. And Wrigley didn't have the ability to have that night game. So they probably missed one along the way. But again, it's more of a logistics thing. And security now compared to 1990 and the real threat of some somebody, a terrorist or a group, something like that, doing something to a ballpark. It's so much more real now than we were facing, 35 years ago.
So, Bruce, we know the opening game in Japan, the first game of the season, technically, even though they're going back to training camp after the first two games, is starting Shota a reward for his season? Is it a nod to the reality of him and his homeland? Or what I'm asking is Justin Steele at all injured or damaged or peeved that he doesn't get to do it again? You thought he'd put together a nice run of starts.
As the Cub officials said off the record yesterday, it was a no-brainer. Yeah. Okay, I mean, here you have one of the surprise. Imanaga was one of the best pitchers in baseball, not the best Cub pitcher, the best pitchers in baseball. He was ignored as a Rookie of the Year candidate. Obviously, Skeens was going to win that, but when your team wins 22 out of 28 games that you start, and you are as impressive as he is, there was probably 4 games where he was bad and he got beat around. The rest, he was terrific. So I don't think there's, even if he wasn't Japanese and they didn't have a Japanese player, he would be starting. That's how good he was last year. And this one is, Yamamoto against him, Dodgers, and just the coming of age for Japanese players in Major League Baseball. Not just coming here, but being dominant players, some of the best players in the history of the game playing right now.
Bruce, how would you advise us to discuss, as we already have, the Vlad Guerrero Jr. news out of Toronto? He's entering the final year of his deal. The Blue Jays can't sign him. They basically he's now a rental player. If you're the Cubs, do you inquire?
You do, but you can't sign him and Turner, can you?
No, but that's not the question. The question is, how badly do you want to win this year?
Well, they want to win badly. I mean, it's a good question from that perspective. There's no doubt. I mean, he has a slug, and I think you could fit him in somehow in your salary cap. But I don't know. Are you going to give up 3 players for the 1 year of him? How much of your farm system are you willing to give up, David? You answer that question.
1 everyday player, probably Bush, Horner, or Suzuki, and 2 prospects.
Okay, for 1 shot.
For 1 shot. If not now, when?
And a year from now, you won't be saying to me, boy, that was a really bad trade for Guerrero.
I might, Bruce, but you know what? You only live once. YOLO.
Oh, boy. Yeah.
I'm with you. I mean, look, by all...
Well, his look was priceless.
The perspective...
I think it was the YOLO. That was what got me.
The perspective is right. That's what they're doing, David. You're just responding to how they're going after Tucker, how they're going after, bullpen help one time, 1 year and out. It's a trend around baseball a little bit. I mean, you don't think the New York Yankees are going to pay him $50 million a year times 10 after 1 year of Goldschmidt playing first base for the Yankees?
Yep, no brainer.
Yeah, I mean, there'll be competition, but again, I like the trade for 1 year. I don't like giving up a huge amount of inventory for, a player that's pretty good in Bush. I mean, nobody really seems to like what he did last year or can project him that his improvement's going to be linear. It's hard to do that, but he was a pretty impressive player for a rookie year.
Great stuff, Bruce. Thank you, buddy. Always fun.
Thanks, Bruce.
Guys, have a great day.